Hello, my name is Dr. Jonathan Schultz with Vital Chiro, Mobile Chiropractic and Wellness. This is my yoga for spinal hygiene class that I've developed over the last 10 plus years of being a yoga instructor and then 6 plus years of being a chiropractor. A couple of things about this class. It's a more restorative paced class. It's pretty slow. If you're an experienced yogi and are looking for more of an up-tempo flow style class for exercise, this is probably not what you're looking for. This is like remedial spinal motion. We're trying to work against most of the postural defects that most people encounter these days. Head forward, back rounded, shoulders forward, arms internally rotated, right? That slouched computer posture, phone posture, right, that we all sort of get throughout the day. All of this is designed to bring us into a more neutral and balanced posture so that we can move well and prevent degenerative changes to the spine long term. There's going to be a bit of mobility and strength work, both in the spine and the shoulders and the hips. The hips and the shoulders affect greatly how the spine is able to move, so we have to touch on those as well. I should also tell you that I stop and talk at several times throughout the class. It's not a traditional yoga class. I'm trying to also teach you some things that you need to know. So I hope you enjoy the class. It should be around 60 minutes and take it from there. If your body is saying no to any of the things that I'm suggesting here also, please listen to that. Yoga is an individual practice. What happens on your mat is what your body says is okay. If I'm doing something that your body is saying no to, be sensitive to that. Try to find some kind of a modification to make sure that you're not doing damage at the same time that you're trying to do good for your body. But this is a good brushing and flossing for your spine, is what it's intended to be. You should have a strap available to you and a couple of blocks. We're going to start with the blocks. We're going to begin by moving into Thoracic Extension in a passive way. So you can set these blocks up this way, block on its side, going widthwise, and block on its end, going up and down. So what you want to do here is begin by taking the bottom edge of your shoulder blades and finding that sideways block, and then use your hands and find a little rest for your head. And then relax. You can take these legs out long if you want. You don't have to. Sometimes it's nice to just hang here. You could also take these arms all the way up and over your head, and that'll deepen your spinal extension, and it will also open up the shoulders and the chest a little bit. Really nice way to just begin. If you don't have these blocks, you can do something similar on like a foam roller. And then when you're ready, just roll off to one side and you can remove those blocks. And we're going to start right on your back and then egg-line position with your knees into your chest. And we're just going to take a second here and use the body's weight and gravity to kind of give us a massage. You can rock up and down, lean left and get the left spinal erectors, and then lean right and get the right spinal erectors. You can play here. You can go side to side. You can let the legs get involved. Whatever feels good, whatever's right for your body at this stage, that's what you want to do. And then we're going to start right off with our first real strengthening exercise. This is called Transversus Abdominis vacuums. Now, I'm going to pause and give you a little bit of an explanation as to why we're going to focus on the Transversus Abdominis so much in this class. Transversus Abdominis, you should know, is the deepest of your layers of abdominal muscles. It wraps all the way around and tucks in back here in the lumbosacral junction. It is shaped and positioned and acts like a corset. And some people will actually call this the corset muscle because it pulls in and it creates a nice wall around the abdomen. And what that is when you pull that in, it lifts up and it takes some pressure off of the discs in your low back. And it can also help you stabilize the motion in your low back. Now, when we start to squeeze this and learn how to turn this on, we're going to be squeezing it very hard, 85, 90%, whatever you can have access to. That's not what I'm seeking to have you do all the time, but you should have access to be able to engage this muscle and at least turn it on at a 10 to 15%, what I call a functional contraction, throughout your day, whether you're sitting, whether you're standing at your desk, walking, whether you're doing physical activities such as yoga, lifting weights. Hopefully you're doing those things. This TVA vacuum exercise and that strength in the transversus abdominis, that's going to go a long way towards keeping your discs healthy. Also, if you're someone that suffers from chronic back pain, this is something that can help you get out of pain, but just by strengthening this. So let's get into it. We're going to use gravity to help us find out the contraction of this muscle. First, I just want you to watch the breath comes in and the breath goes out. When all the breath is out, then you want to pull down, try to touch the spine with your belly button. It's called a vacuum exercise because it's like you're vacuuming out this abdominal area, and I can feel it squeezing all the way down to my pubic bone, all the way up to the sternum. It's a big sheet of muscle that wraps all the way around you. And then you want to hold it for about 15 seconds. Let it go. Take a round of breath or two. And contract. And you're just going to hold it, squeeze it isometrically, meaning without movement, for 15 seconds. Ideally, what will happen is that you will begin to increase your length of time that you can hold this contraction from 15 seconds to 30 seconds to 45 seconds to 1 minute holds. And you want to do 3 to 5 rounds of this every day. You're going to start in a lying position. We'll show it later in all fours, and then you could even do it in a standing or a seated position. That's the most difficult. But if you can do 5 rounds of 1 minute holds twice a day very easily, then you're going to be well on your way to having enough strength to really safely stabilize your lumbar spine with this. So let's just pretend like we did 3 to 5, and we'll move on to the next bit of class here. We're going to start with a little pelvic tilt. You're just going to rock the pelvis front and back. You'll notice as I tip the pelvis forward, there's a curve in my low back, and as I tip the pelvis back, that curve flattens out. So we want this motion to bookend the little bridge pose that we're going to come into. So next time you tilt the pelvis back, you're going to let that motion just float the pelvis up off the floor, and one vertebra at a time, come all the way up. And then as you exhale, one vertebra at a time, set it down. And lastly, release that pelvis back into a more neutral tilt. Tilting the pelvis, inhale, we lift. Exhale, set it down. Pelvis is last. One more, inhale. Exhale. Very nice. And roll over to one side, come up to a comfortable seated position. And then we're going to move right into a nice long sit position. I like to move and flesh out from under my sits bones so that I can get that pelvis rotated forward enough to get my spine vertical. And we're going to take a nice fold over these legs. You don't need to round your spine a bunch to get into a forward fold. It's more about how far forward you can rotate that pelvis. So even here, I'm getting a nice stretch through all the way through my hamstrings and my calves because I'm bringing the toes back towards me. But this is just, everybody needs this. If you spend any time during the day seated for hours at a time, this is something that's going to be really good for you, is stretching the backs of your legs. After we've done that, let's bring, oh yeah, we're going to open these hips up a little bit sideways too. So take your feet a little wider than the mat, and you're going to roll to one side. You could fold over here if you would like, that's okay, and then roll to the other side. Fold. Just a couple of times each side, warming up these hips, preparing them for more motion. Good. Come back to center. Take the legs out into a diamond sit position. Once again, I like to lift up here. If your arms are not as long as mine, grab your blocks, set them right next to your hips, and then you can really pick up. Now you're using the weight of your pelvis and your legs to get some traction in that spine and low back. Create some space in there for those low back discs. So set down really gently. You can remove those blocks again. And we're going to fold forward right here in this diamond sit position. Every time you change the position of the legs and the feet, we change the way that the hips are interacting with the pelvis. So we're going to do this forward fold in a couple of different variations. But right here, we want to come up to a nice vertical spine, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to talk about the 6 pure ranges of motion of the spine. Flexion, extension, lateral flexion, right and left, and rotation, right and left. So we're going to start just by moving through those. Now we're going to do full spine, so include your head and your neck in this. Everybody should do, at minimum, these motions with your full complete spine, and then again with just your head and your neck every single day. And you'd be amazed at how much more movement availability you have in the spine. So start with the arms out here. You're going to take a big inhale. As you exhale, round back through the pelvis and the spine. And then as you inhale, come up. Bring the shoulders back and down. Head lifts and a little extension. Exhale, roll back. Inhale, extend. Back to center. Inhale here, and then we're going to laterally flex to the right. Take this left arm up and over, stretching through the side body. We're going to do a little bit more of this in a second. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Think about moving up and out of the spine, not collapsing down like this. It's a nice lift. Inhale, and exhale to the other side. We'll inhale back to center. And as we exhale, rotate. And you can use these hands to deepen that rotation. If your spine says yes, we inhale back to center and exhale, a twist to the other side. Inhale and exhale. Good. We'll change the position of the legs and feet into a cross-legged seated position. A little lift. And another fold. A little deeper stretch here into the hips. And we're going to come up and just have some head rolls. Now head rolls have gotten kind of a bad rap because people think that as you go back, that there's congestion and there's clicking and there's popping and it doesn't feel good. And yes, if I just allowed my head to collapse back and tried to roll it through there, you're going to feel a lot of grittiness, and it's not going to feel right. I want you to think about, just like I said with that lateral flexion, there is a lift. I'm moving up and out. And then as you take one ear over your shoulder, I'm moving up and left. And then as I move the head back, I'm moving up and back. And as I move right, I'm moving up and right. And then up and forward. Right? So it's up, 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 up. Do a couple of rounds to each side, but especially this is important to get back here because we get a nice big stretch through all of the muscles and soft tissues in the anterior part of the neck. This is a nice place to get that. Change the crossing of your legs. Take one more forward fold. We'll come right on up to a nice tall spine. These are called head retractions. So everyone's got some degree of anterior head carriage or forward head carriage, just because of sitting in computers and again, the way we use our bodies. What we're going to do is work exactly the opposite, head retraction. It's like someone's pulling your ears straight back. Your chin doesn't dip or raise, but you are going to feel like you're making a double chin. And then let go. Pull, release, pull, release, pull, release, pull, release. Now I'm not sticking my head out there, I'm just letting it go. If you do want a more dynamic motion, certainly you could jut that head out and then pull back, and that would increase the distance of travel. If that feels better to you, that's fine. I don't know that it's necessary, but that's okay. Let's open these legs up nice and wide. Stretch through these inner thighs a little bit. Start with a last big forward fold right here. I always try to remember to pull my toes back towards my shin. Put all of these stretches through the lower leg as well. It's a shame to see everybody stretching their legs like this, because that stretch stops at the knee. So if you'll really be active in the feet and reach through your heels, that's what's going to give you a stretch through the entire back of the leg. Now from here, we're going to do more of that lateral flexion and side bending. This is a very asymmetrical pose, and if you have SI joint issues or sacral complaints or pain down here in the back of your pelvis, too much of this may not be good for you. I think a nice stretch each side is fine, but you may not want to hang out there for very long, so just be aware of that if that's something that you deal with on a regular basis. So you're going to inhale, the arms are up. As you exhale, I'm going to reach out here with my right hand and then reach over with the left hand. You can grab that wrist and roll the right shoulder under, left shoulder back, and really open up that left side body and ribs. Inhale back to center and exhale over to the left. Really nice. So we're going to take a real gentle, easy pigeon pose and just begin to start deepening that hip motion. Keep your hands right here to stabilize the weight of your body and just play with it. This is your first time here today. So find out what feels good, where this particular hip is today. Begin to press into it a little bit, and then you take that palm down on the right side, bring your left foot up towards your buttock, and then roll your pelvis back to square it up at the front. I see a lot of people that do this and keep their pelvis open, and that'll take you out of that quad stretch on your trailing leg. Really nice opportunity to stretch through the quads. We don't do that very much. You can drop that leg. Change sides. Again, keeping my hands here to stabilize the weight of the body. Just beginning to touch on some of that motion. And that hip stretching to a little deeper crease there. I'll bring this right foot up. And then roll that pelvis back towards the top edge of your mat. Good. Let that go. We're going to take both knees together. We're going to going to sit back on the heels with the toes pointed behind you. So we're stretching through the front side of the ankles at this particular variation. You're going to grab your strap. Now, real important here, we're going to start opening up these shoulders that we remember to engage our transversus abdominis. If we don't, as soon as we start doing anything with the arms up here, you're going to throw your back into this really deep low back. You're just going to dump everything into your low back. And without any stability there, that can be a bad thing. So I'm going to ask you to really engage through your transversus abdominis. Take your right hand high and your left hand low. They don't have to be that close together on the strap. I'm engaging my TVA, I'm keeping my elbows back, and then I'm going to lift through the right hand and deepen my internal rotation of the left shoulder. And then I'm going to pull down with my left hand, deepening the external rotation of the right shoulder. Release. And change sides. Pulling up with the left hand. And then pulling down with the right. Let that go. Very good. Take your strap in front of you, hands just wider than shoulders width. We're going to take a few pass-throughs, right? You can go all the way back and touch, and then all the way back to the front. If this is too easy for you, bring your hands closer together. If it's too hard for you, take your hands wide. But you want to try to keep those arms nice and straight and make the shoulder do the motion. Don't put it into the elbows and things like that. Do a couple of those, that's great. Rocking forward, tuck the toes. We're going to sit back onto the heels, now opening up through the front side, or excuse me, the sole of the foot and into the calf a little bit. We also need to work not only flexibility in the shoulders, but strength, right? We want these shoulders to move back and down. So there's a really simple exercise called face pulls here. You're going to take your arms out in front of you and inhale, bring those shoulders together and back and down on the back, and then exhale, reach forward. You want to feel like if there was a pencil, someone laid it on your spine back there, that you could actually squeeze it with your shoulder blades. That's the squeeze that I'm talking about back there. Again, keep your TVA involved, because as soon as you do this, if you're not, you'll dump into that low back, which is not safe. We're going to bring this motion back into another small vinyasa that we do in just a little bit, but that's a great way, just some simple body weight face pulls to start activating your shoulder retractors. From here, rock back, take these feet a little bit wider, maybe as wide as the mat, and then sink it down into a yogi squat. Find your position today. Don't be afraid to move it around. This is good hip mobility as well as knee and ankle mobility. It's a great place to be in at least once a day. You can open up, there's some twisting variations and all kinds of stuff, but even just sitting right down here and pressing these knees open, this is nice. Go ahead and rock it forward, and we're going to move into all fours. Knees are directly beneath the hips, and wrists are directly beneath the shoulders. We're going to reach long through the crown of the head and long through the sacrum. So right away, what we're going to start working here is transversus abdominis vacuums. Again, TVA vacuums. So as my breath leaves, now I'm pulling up. I'm pulling the belly button up towards the spine. So we're working against gravity or adding resistance. And again, you're going to hold those contractions starting at 15 seconds, working to 30, working to 45-second holds and 1-minute holds. Now a word on the breath. As you pull your belly in, that's going to keep the diaphragm from lowering to take a big, full, complete breath. So how do you continue to breathe if you're holding this for 30 seconds plus? A lot of people have trouble holding their breath that long. What I recommend is just take a very shallow, some people call them clavicular breathing, or a sip, just a sip of air. Just, I'm holding it, little breath, let it go. Just little bitty breaths. This is not a normative way to breathe. I don't encourage you to breathe this way at any time in your life except for during this exercise. What you want to do is just provide enough oxygen to your body to continue to squeeze that TVA for 30 seconds plus. That's all you're doing. All right, so let's pretend like we did 3 to 5 rounds of TVA vacuums here in all fours. Now, the next thing we're going to do is just a nice simple cat and cow. So as you inhale, drop the belly down, pull the chest forward, gaze comes forward, and maybe even up. Exhale, press the floor away. Try to touch the ceiling with that space between your shoulder blades. And then just flow on your own breath. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. This is an excellent way to pump the cerebrospinal fluid, which is what bathes the central nervous structures, provides nutrients, and removes waste products. And because we're normally only one way in gravity, that can get a little stagnant. And this is a really nice way to refresh and bring nice, clean cerebrospinal fluid to every part of the central nervous system. Now come to neutral, and I want you to wag your tail a little bit. So try to get the right shoulder and right hip closer together, and then go the other way and get your left shoulder and left hip closer together. Take this like it's like a cat-cow but going in lateral flexion. And then we're going to add that to what we did before. So drop the belly down, and then take the left hip and shoulder together, and then press up through cat, and then take the right hip and shoulder together. And then you'll move through this really cool little barrel roll with the chest and the spine. Go both ways, just kind of touching on those little nooks and crannies of your spinal motion that maybe we haven't touched yet. Good, and let that all slip away. Now let's work on some spinal traction, pulling the spine long. We'll start with the left hand forward, right heel to the back of the room. And you want to hold this, fire up your TVA, and hold this for about 5 breaths. Doesn't matter how high the hand and the foot are, it matters how far apart. So reach through the fingertips, reach through the heel, pull your spine in 2 different directions. Then take a big inhale, and as you exhale, bring knee to elbow and squeeze. Inhale, reach it up, maybe a little extension even, bringing a little of that cat and cow to this pose. Inhale, reach. Exhale, squeeze. Just do it 3 times. Set it down, other side, right leg forward, left heel back. Fire up the TVA, 5 breaths. And when you're ready, we're going to take one more big inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Last one, inhale. Good. Set it all down. Tuck your toes, walk your hands a little forward. Press into your first downward facing dog of the day. Take a moment here, pedal out the legs, rock the pelvis side to side, whatever your body feels like it needs. This is a good position to get some head and neck motion because the head is hanging off, gravity is lengthening your neck right now, so use that extra length for some motion. From here, you want to inhale your right leg up and back, keeping your shoulders parallel with the mat. Open that pelvis to the right. A little twist through the spine. Inhale back up to center. And as you exhale, bring your knee forward. Place your right hand inside of the right foot inside of the right hand, and then bring your hands up to that right knee. So we're going to work on hip flexor. It's the leg that's back is the hip flexor that we're working on, your psoas. Many people don't know this, but the psoas actually connects to all 5 lumbar vertebrae. So as you sink the pelvis down, I get a nice hip flexor stretch here. My hip flexors are very, very tight, so I don't feel the need to go any further. But if I did, I would take that left hand and I would laterally flex away from that side, and that will definitely add some stretch to that hip flexor. Now let's flow through this hamstring dance. Inhale, drop that pelvis a little bit more forward. As you exhale, send the hips back, and another little hamstring stretch on this right side. Inhale, hip flexor on the left. Exhale, hamstring on the right. Inhale, and exhale. Walk it forward, plant the palms, downward facing. Let's take all that on the other side. Inhale the left leg. Exhale, open the hips to the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale, move forward. Left foot inside of left hand. Drop that back knee down. Hands up onto that front knee. And deepen right into a hip flexor stretch on the right. If I need more, I can laterally flex away or out to the left. And that definitely adds a bit of stretch. Inhale a little deep. Exhale, send the hips back. Stretch the hamstring on the left. Inhale, right hip flexor stretch. Exhale, left hamstring stretch. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Plant your palms. This time, step your left foot back. We'll find ourselves in a plank position. Fire up that transversus abdominis. That's the big plank muscle here. And breathe. You want to be here for at least 30 seconds if you can. Call it at least 3 breaths. If you've got a little more, that's good. Now bend. Lower all the way to the mat. And your left hand in front of across the front of your mat. Roll onto your left side. You want to make sure that your elbow and your hip, and then the center between where your feet are, I'm in a heel to toe alignment back here, is all in one line on the mat. And then when you're ready, side plank. Now in this position, you can add this arm. You know, there's a couple of variations here. It doesn't matter. You can sit here just like this. You want to get about 30 seconds. And set it down. Now this is a really good position when you're at home that you can get some glute medius and glute minimus activation with just body weight. So just like those face pulls, right? We're just using our body weight to strengthen something that most people need to strengthen. And it's just a simple leg lift. Keeping that leg right in line with the rest of the body. You know, and you can pump out 8 or 10 of these on each side, and it's just a good opportunity to work through some of the glutes that we don't normally get. I'm going to roll to the other side. Feet are heel to toe. And now I'm ready. So I'm going to pop right up here. Nice and long. Whatever you want the arm to do. Call it about 30 seconds. When you're ready, set it down. And then once again on this side, if you'd like to get some of that gluteus strengthening, you can just pump through a couple of those. And we're going to roll right down onto our bellies and begin to work into our back bends. So just like we did head retractions, this is a little bit different. This is a head and neck extension. So we're going to start with the forehead on the ground. Hands are way back here by the ribs. And then I'm going to inhale just the head and the neck. And exhale, set it down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. And exhale, down. This time, we're going to let the head and the neck come up, and then just the spine. I'm not pushing into the hands. Nice low cobra. Exhale, set it all down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Good. From here, you can press back. Take your knees a little wider. Sink the hips back. Take a little child's pose here. Rest. Stretch through the bottom of the back, low back. Tuck the toes, press the hips up, and walk your feet forward. You just take a little forward fold here, hanging forward fold this time. Make sure, I see a lot of people that say, you know, I stretch the backs of my legs all the time. I'm not stretching the backs of my legs, I'm rounding my spine. Literally, you can keep your spine totally flat and stretch the backs of your legs just by creasing the hips. You want to roll that pelvis in this direction because the hamstring connects here. So if you roll it this way, that's what stretches that hamstring. So wherever position you find, put a little bend in the knees. That's also, you can still stretch through the backs of the legs with a little bend in the knees. Find that stretch with a flat back, then let your spine round. And now gravity will help you. The other thing I see people do is they send their hips back behind their heels. That'll take you out of the stretch as well. So make sure your hips and your ankles are in a nice alignment with each other. Once again, take this opportunity to, your neck is being lengthened by gravity, so add some motion to it. Make that feel good. So one of my favorite little vinyasa exercises is this flowing half forward fold. If you sit at a computer for any length of time, this is a great one. If you've got 30 seconds, I need to do something, I gotta pick myself up, I gotta get out of this chair, this is a great one. You're gonna start in a full forward fold, so you're getting a nice hamstring back of the leg stretch. On your inhale, you're just gonna come up to a flat back and pull those shoulders back and down, just like that face pull. Fire up your transversus abdominis, exhale, fold. Inhale up, exhale, fold. It's a great way to get the whole body activated and just
4 or 5 of those is a really great way to get some deep breath, some good stretch, and some good activation in your core and your back and your shoulders. From here, you want to deepen the bend in the knees and begin to rock that pelvis back. We're going to begin to just ragdoll up and stack one vertebra on top of the next. Head and neck are the last things to come up. Roll your shoulders up and back and down. Inhale the arms up. Interlace the fingers and press the palms up towards the ceiling. Engage through your transversus abdominis. And as you exhale, let's take a right lateral flexion. Inhale, come up. And a left lateral flexion. Inhale up. Right rotation. Inhale up. Left rotation. Inhale back to center. Hands down. Now you can bring your feet together here. We're going to work Tadasana, but I want you to work it as an activation of your transversus abdominis. So shoulders back and down, press through the floor, reach through the fingertips, and then squeeze through your middle. You should feel that reach up here through the crown of your head. Full body activation. Especially in the transversus abdominis, TVA. Good. Let that fall away. A couple of exercises here that are also good for 2 different things. Another one to help get your shoulders back and down, YTWLs. So you can take these hands up into a nice wide Y position. So we're making letters with our arms here. Y, and then drop into a T and get a nice stretch across the chest. W as we retract the shoulder blades, and then L as we drop the shoulder blades. Y, T, W, L. Good. This next exercise is called thumb tracking. Now, this is one of the most valuable exercises in this entire class. It's a little bit difficult, so I'd like you to watch me do a round first and then try to do it. I like to call this a neurological espresso shot. So if you hit 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you can't get to coffee, you're going to do 5 of these on each side, and I promise you that it will wake up your nervous system and you won't feel the need for that caffeine anymore. You're going to start left hand on your left hip. Take your right hand out in front of you and you're going to stare at your thumb. This is called thumb tracking because we're going to move this thumb through that arc of motion, and you're going to keep your eyes focused on that thumb the entire time. So thumb out, start over here to the left. I am flexed, laterally flexed, and rotated to this side. As I inhale, I come up and across. I'm looking at that thumb the whole time. Notice that I keep going up and back, up and back, up and back. Typically people get to about here and then it flattens out or even goes down. But you'll never get the extension through the head and the neck until you do. Notice here, I've extended, laterally flexed, and rotated to the other side. So I've combined, in essence, all 6 ranges of motion into one movement. And I'll show you that on the other side. Inhale, come up. Good. Now let's take a couple of sun salutation A. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, plant the palms, step back, lower halfway or all the way, your choice. Inhale up to a cobra. Exhale, send the hips back to up, downward facing dog. Let's be here for about 5 breaths. You don't have to hold it for 5 breaths. Shoot for at least 3. There's 3. Let's call that good. The next inhale, spike the hips. Exhale, bend forward. Step or jump to meet the hands. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, all the way up. One more. Little extension up here is nice. Engage here though. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step back. Chaturanga. Cobra. Downward facing dog. Usually do about 5 of those right here. This is kind of the zenith of class. Everything is warmed up and moving, so these motions feel really delicious here. When you're done with that, you can find yourself in a nice little child's pose here. Stretch through that low back again. Catch your breath. I'm going to skip ahead, so I want to make sure I get all of this into an hour. If you're doing this at home, just pause the video. Make sure you do 3 to 5 of those and take 3 to 5 breaths every time you're in that downward facing dog. I want to revisit that pigeon pose we did earlier, this time only. Let's find the full position. So bring that leg up, find a position that your hip needs to be in. And then we're going to start on our elbows. Next option is to make a little pillow for your head. And for some people that have availability, your arms can be out front, your head and chest can even lay on the mat. That is not for my body. So if it's available for you, great. If it's not, great. Just let the weight of the body deepen that crease into your hip socket. I'm getting a nice stretch across some of the posterior leg muscles. Take about 5 breaths. And we'll change the legs. Elbows, pillow for the head. That's about where I stop. I'm noticing that this side is different than the left side. Every side is different, every day is different. If something is not even, that's fine, you're human. If you are not able to do something that you were able to do yesterday, that's fine, you're human, it's okay. Just wake up and do it again tomorrow and see what happens tomorrow. The result is not what's important. It's the process of working towards it that's the important part. When you're done with this side, take both feet back and we'll lay all the way back down, forehead into the mat. We're going to revisit these little back bends that we did before. This time, we are going to push into the hands. So we're going to inhale, head and neck, chest, and then I'm going to push that last little bit to help me get into a nice deep cobra. Exhaling to set it down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up.
Next round, we're going to do Supermans. So go ahead and take your hands out in front, palms facing into each other. Press through the pelvis.
Gentlemen, you may take a moment here and clear the runway. Just make sure that you're able to press with your pelvis into the mat and not squish anything down there.
But you want to press into the pelvis, and as you inhale, lift
Both the top half of your body and the back half of your body. Five breaths. At the end of 5 breaths, set it down. Take one ear to the mat. Take a little rest. When you're ready,
forehead back to the mat. Hands out in front, press through the pelvis.
inhale, bring it up. 5 breaths. 4, 3, 2, rest. Other ear to the mat. Good. We're going to sit back into our hero's pose here, and we're going to just prep our shoulders for the full bridge pose. So I want to work on opening these shoulders. You're going to reach the hands behind your feet, press the palms together. I often see this pose formed this way. It's really weak in the wrists, and you can injure yourself that way. So anytime the hands are bound like this, I recommend pressing the palms together and then reach the shoulders back and down. Try to touch the floor with your knuckles. Engage that transversus abdominis to make sure you're not dumping into the low back. And just walk those shoulders as far back as you can. This is exactly how we're going to be when we lie back into our bridge pose. You can do that a couple of times if you would like to work on that, or you can flip right over and find your way into the full pose. Feet down, hands down here at your hips. Float that pelvis up and off the floor, and then walk those shoulders under your body. Press the palms together. Try to get the pinkies down on the mat, and then finally gently push into the legs and send your heart back towards your chin for a slightly deeper back bend. My TVA is engaged, protecting the low back. You also want to make sure that you don't let your knees splay out here, right? That the knees stay in line with the hips the whole time. I don't like to windmill the feet or the knees between knees. So if you're going to do 2 or 3 of these, save that motion for the end. So we're just going to do 2. Come back up into that bridge pose. Walk the shoulders under. TVA engaged. Press through the feet. Knees stay in alignment. And I'll take it down. Now I'll take the feet a little wider. Reset, neutralize the pelvis and the sacrum ribs. From here, bring your knees back up into your chest. You can take your arms out nice and wide. Drop your knees over to the right. Keep your left shoulder anchored into the mat, and you can use that right hand to deepen your twist. And look out over your left hand. Easy lying twist. Inhale back up. Exhale over. Inhale back to center. We'll take a happy baby. Keep your knees bent. The soles of your feet up towards the ceiling. My arms are inside of my knees, but outside of my feet. I'm going to get in this position and pull straight down on the knees. And then maybe just a little rock side to side here. Ananda Balasana is the Sanskrit name for this pose, which we say is happy baby. But my favorite definition of Ananda is that joy without which the universe itself would cease to exist. So try to find that joy in this little pose. Now, before we hit Shavasana, I want to take one more opportunity for a passive thoracic extension. We're going to do it a little differently because we're going to also add some cervical traction as well. So take your block flat and lay it lengthwise. And it's going to be a little lower than it was towards the bottom edge of your ribs, or maybe between the shoulder blades and the bottom ribs. And I'm going to lay back, and I'm going to let my head hang and lightly just brush against the ground. And then I'll open these arms and let everything just fall open. Gravity opening up those discs in the neck, helping make sure we've got enough space for all of our appropriate ranges of motion. If you are going to move into cervical traction, I don't recommend that you start out with any longer than about 2 minutes. Sometimes your body can get a little upset. It's not used to this. So go slowly. But I'm used to it. I do it every day, so it feels nice. I can hang out here for a while. But I won't. We're going to wrap this up. Roll to one side. Remove the block. And then you can find your full Shavasana. Palms up to the ceiling. Everything relaxed and released. Give yourself about 5 minutes here to just breathe and meditate. Sense all of the changes that have happened in your body. See how good it feels to be alive. And when you're ready, deepen your breath. Bring some motion back into your fingers and hands. Roll onto your right side very gently. Push yourself back up to find a comfortable seated position. Hands at your heart center. Gently lower your chin and bow your head. Giving gratitude to yourself for showing up and taking care of some spinal hygiene today. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Folks, I can't say this enough. Your spine is like your teeth. These are structures that you need for your entire life. And if you don't maintain them, they will decay. So if you want your spine to carry you through 100 years or more, and let you do the things that you want to do, get on your mat, take 60 minutes, do something good for yourself. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Dr. Jonathan Schultz with Vital Chiro. You can find us at vitalmobilechiro.com and book with me there. Thank you very much.